Good morning. It is 10:35 a.m. on Saturday, Saturday, November 23rd, 2019. I'm Christiana Ellis and I've been up for a little bit. This is 5 more minutes. I've been up for a little bit just trying to figure out, the list of things that I want to try to get done before my flight tonight because this evening I'm flying out to Colorado, where I'm from originally, to spend the Thanksgiving week with family. And it's going to be good time. And that's it. Yeah, so also on the agenda today, obviously, I need to pack. But I'm also going to be talking about Survivor with Mike early this afternoon before my flight. So that's on the agenda. I was just trying to add an audiobook to my iTunes and make it sync to my iPhone, which is not working for some reason. And I don't need to burden you guys with that, but that's partly just what my brain is distracted with right at the moment. I did finish The Outer Worlds last night, and I'm pretty happy with that game. I feel like it didn't stay over long. There was a couple of side quests that felt a little bit like, okay, get X for me, and then you go and get it, and you bring it back. It's like, okay, great, now go get Y. And then you say, okay, and then you go and get that, and then you bring it back. It's like, okay, well, now that we've got X and Y, you know what we need with that, right? And it's like, okay. So there was a couple of quests that felt a little bit like that, but overall, I think that it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not super short. It was definitely longer than I had sort of been given the impression it was, but I got a pretty good ending, and I feel like the writing is good. I like the characters. There's a couple of them in particular I think that really resonated for me, and yeah, so I recommend it. It's as I've mentioned before, a game is kind of like if you just draw a line between Fallout and Mass Effect. It's kind of right there on that line. Maybe add in a dose of Firefly, and yeah, good stuff. So highly recommended. Next up, in terms of video games, I think I've mentioned this before, is that I'm definitely planning to get Death Stranding, and I might play that a little bit if I have some spare time this afternoon. In between the other things that I'm doing, I might get just like the beginning started. But obviously, since I'm going to be out of town all week, I'm not bringing my PS4 with me, but I will have my Nintendo Switch. And so I've played a little bit of Luigi's Mansion 3, which is just as delightful as I had every reason to expect that it would be. Although I have a tendency to run around in every room just, in that game, if you're unfamiliar, Luigi is essentially a ghost hunter, and he uses sort of a vacuum cleaner slash flashlight device to hunt ghosts with. But part of the game is also just going around and sucking up everything that's not nailed down with your vacuum cleaner, because you get money for that, which I guess at some point in the game you are allowed to buy things with that, but I don't know. So, but there's a tendency to just want to try to not progress through any room unless you have sucked up all of the stuff. And oh boy, there's a completionist streak in that game. Because obviously most of that stuff you don't need to spend all that time doing. It's just like, it's sort of busy work, but it's busy work that the game sort of makes you want to do. It's good stuff though. I also I got caught up with His Dark Materials yesterday, which that show on paper, I feel like it's something that I would just totally love, enthusiastically, unreservedly, which is perhaps a bit ironic since it is in fact based on books that I have not read. So maybe I just ought to read the books. I know a lot of people really like them. Enough people like them that they made an HBO show of it. But and I do like it, and I am continuing to watch it, but it's not as unreservedly praising as I don't know why I expected necessarily to feel that way, but I like it, but I just find that there are periods where I'm getting out my phone and like I'm not necessarily fully engaged through every scene. I will say that all of the Mrs. Coulter scenes have my attention. I think it's Ruth Carter is the actress, and she does some really interesting choices with that performance. And I'm definitely always interested when she's on screen. I think like I'm intellectually engaged with Lyra's story, but I don't feel it in my heart, I think, is part of the problem. Like I understand in principle, she's worried about her friend, she's worried about herself. There's a lot of mysteries, people keep lying to her. Yeah, like I get all of that. I don't know, I'm not feeling it. But it's okay. And what else? The Mandalorian is continuing to be pretty good, although, there's not very many female characters in it. I mean, I think the only one so far was the Mandalorian Smith, who like makes his, when he brings in the metal, she makes him the armor. And that's kind of cool, but it's pretty small part for us to be 3 episodes in and she's the only one. And the only reason we know she's female is we hear her voice. So it's like, oh, all right. I mean, it's not a big problem, but I'm a little bit surprised. Uh, but yeah, I'm digging it. There was some good stuff. I was a little surprised that this most recent episode seemed short. Like it was only like 32 minutes long or something like that. Which I guess I don't object to having episodes vary in length. But I just was a little surprised. I'm more trained to expect the full hour-long episodes. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for right now. And I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes when I will be in Colorado. And so, as I mentioned last week, no Cowboy Bebop recap this week because I'll be out of town. But I will be talking about something else instead. And then Cowboy Bebop recap returns next week. And so I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.